Welcome to I'll Have You Know, a podcast from Rice Business. This episode is part of our Up Next series, where faculty, researchers, and alumni weigh in on the trends currently shaping the world of business.
Rice Business is known for its quality and its caliber of professors, and some have even reached legendary status. One of those legends is Al Danto. Al's classes are a mix of MBA bootcamp, a part of Entrepreneurial masterclass, and part life lessons. He is truly an extraordinary professor and someone that everybody wants to get into that class, no matter how long you wait. From running lemonade stands to outperforming his peers in Little League raffle ticket sales, Al is always someone who sees opportunities where others see obstacles. At the age of 24, he launched a business, grew it to be listed on the Inc. 500 fastest growing business list, and then exited through a sale to private equity. Since then, he has launched multiple ventures, consulted with business leaders about high stakes and strategic exits, and invested across multiple industries. And through it all is a person who has survived 2 life-threatening medical crises with a renewed sense of hope, faith, and determination to live each and every day to its fullest. His life is a blend of grit, gratitude, business prowess, and determination. And he is here this evening to talk to us about the mindset and the lessons he's learned that can transform the way that we live and the way that we lead. Please join me in welcoming Al Danto.
Ooh, thank you. Here we go, baby. Thank you, Maya.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
So my first question is, how many of those tickets did you sell?
Well, it was really interesting. We talk a lot about DNA, and maybe I'll give you some insight to the class. Kind of what were you as a kid, right? What did you do as a kid? What did you enjoy? Were you analytical? I know Al Galindo, who I've worked with a lot, our latest faculty member, always been engineering, always been analytical. Other kids are outgoing, jumping out, off of roofs and stuff like that. And one of mine, we had to sell raffle tickets for Little League, and we were outside the bank. It was Friday. I had my Little League uniform on, getting ready to go to the game. And my dad, we saw people come out of the bank. Back in the day, everyone cashed their check on Friday. So I walked up as a little kid, and I said, "Hey, we'd like to buy a raffle ticket." And they couldn't say they didn't have any money. So
it's all about marketing and being in the right place at the right time.
It is. It's being in the right place at the right time, and then so that became my secret spot to sell raffle tickets. Based on there, people had money. They came out of the bank on Friday. As a little kid in a baseball uniform, and how could you say no to them, right?
Right. No, you can't say no to a kid with Girl Scout cookies or anything that the Boy Scouts are selling as well. So you grew up in Michigan, cold in Michigan. And so did you always know that this is what you wanted to do, or was it something that sparked that interest for you?
That's a good question. I grew up in Michigan. A fun fact, I played ice hockey for 55 years.
Still playing?
I play every Friday, and I love to do that. So I grew up in Michigan, and a lot of life evolved. So I came to Houston for a summer. We were supposed to work in Alaska on fishing boats. It fell through, so we had to do something. We came to Houston and got a good summer job, and I met my wife. And we dated Donna. We dated that summer. And I went back to Michigan, finished school, and came back down. And I said I would never live in Houston. It was too hot, flooded, cockroaches, 100 degrees like it is now. And so I said, as soon as you graduate from UT, we're going to go back to Michigan. That was 39 years ago, 40 years ago. And been here ever since, because in the winter, got to fish, play ice hockey, play softball, and do the things that I enjoyed. So been here ever since.
So you, when you came to Houston, tell me about your very first business that you started at the age of 24. So it was a document business.
Yeah. So.
And what started that? What was sort of the impetus to that?
So my first job out of college was the NCR Corporation, and we would help companies when they go from a manual system to an automated system. A lot of companies didn't have computer systems back then, so we would work with the programmers to design an old-fashioned thing called business forms. Anyone heard of a business form before? It's an invoice, a check. So if you think about all the paper that companies consume, banks and hospitals and universities, they all came out at the end of a printer. That came with, so you print
Were
an
the little
invoice,
things that you'd have to rip off on the side, right?
On the side. So we would help companies get set up and do their paper flow system and their accounts payable system. And one of our vendors was an envelope sales rep. That's all that we did at NCR, was that one product. Because I figured if you're going to spend all this money on a computer system, then you're going to get your first forms from us. You could go out after that and get them anywhere else. And then, but they had to go into envelopes and their other products. So I developed a relationship with other sales reps, and they became our vendors. And they provided us with those products. So one of them was an envelope sales rep. And Blaine Smith, and his company started to have troubles. It was the mid-'80s. Anyone know what the price of oil was in the mid-'80s?
Depends on which part of it. The mid-'80s?
About $8 a barrel, right? It was really, really low. And his company was hurting, so they were starting to go out of business, and he couldn't supply our envelopes when our systems went live. So I said, we need to find an envelope company to get him from. And he goes, well, I got just the idea. There's these private label manufacturers that will make envelopes, and we can sell them to our customers. And so he started selling them. I said, I don't care where you get them from, as long as you get them to me. That was my problem that he had to solve, right? You have a computer system going live, these forms are coming out, and no envelopes. So he
imagine that's a problem to not have envelopes.
Yeah, huge problem. You got this computer system in there and all that. So I said, I don't care where you get them from. And so let's start a company supply envelopes. And so started the Classic Envelope Company. And we went to private manufacturers, and they made the products mostly for him, and they fulfilled our need, and then others. And his company eventually went under. We took the 3 salespeople from that company and brought them in, and we needed a place to work, right? So we started in our apartment. We started the company in our apartment.
Sounds like that happens a lot. In the garage or the apartment, right?
Yeah, I think that's the first lesson for entrepreneurship is what's the problem? What's the core problem, and what can you do different, right? So we were able to supply envelopes at a lower price than even manufacturers in Houston could, because we were buying them from other areas and bringing them in. And we turned our apartment into a large storage area. So we'd store envelopes for Schlumberger and Cisco Foods, Allied Bank, the big companies and big hospitals. And then from there, we ultimately grew and expanded and started to acquire manufacturing companies.
I was going to say, how did you scale? Because that sounds like a lot of customers to have to provide your product to.
Yeah, you scale by need, right?
Yeah.
You scale by need, and so customers started to ask for other products. They asked for those forms, so we found private label forms manufacturers. They asked for printing, so we found private label printing manufacturers. And we found out that customers wanted to have kind of a one-stop, kind of a mid-market. They didn't want to deal with 4 or 5 different vendors, so we're able to become a one-stop for these companies. And then ultimately we acquired our first printing manufacturing company. But we were in business for probably 3 or 4 years as a distributor before we ever acquired our first manufacturing company. Then we acquired our first manufacturing company, and then we started to acquire other manufacturing companies and kind of consolidate them together and grew from there.
Wow. So you did that for a bit, and then you decided to sell.
Yeah, crazy story. What's really interesting is that hardly anyone in here has heard of a business forms, right? But in the early 80s, that was kind of the beginning of this industry, because computers were coming out and people had them. We became a vendor for Anheuser-Busch, Miller, Coors, the distributors. We would follow software companies, kind of like I did at NCR. So when a software company would install a system, they'd call us. So we contracted with software companies that supplied software to like beverage distributors, dry cleaners, travel agencies. And when they installed a system, they'd contact us for the forms. So we did that. And eventually had a couple sales reps that just handled beverage wholesalers. And we went out to the National Beer Wholesalers Conference in Las Vegas.
It's a good conference.
A good conference. Oh, it's a great conference. All new beers coming out. You get to taste them. You got everything coming out there, right? So we did that, and I walked up and there was a trade show display, and they said, it was the very first kind of electronic pad. They said, we're going to eliminate paper. I said, oh crap! I'm in the paper business, you know. And believe it or not, you know, when that came out, I came back and I had all these. We were like a little Pac-Man buying up these little companies, and they were big national Pac-Man, kind of buying companies.
Yeah, M&A, yeah.
Really big, right? And so.
But when you saw that, you knew.
I saw it and I knew. You know, it was kind of literally like writing on the wall that I kind of saw, and we'd be getting these offers and things were going on. I was in probably I was late 30s, 37, 38 years old.
So this is like 99, 98.
Exactly.
Yeah.
98.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this crazy idea. I was in an advisory board. We'll talk about our roundtables a little bit, the Alumni Association. I came in and I said, hey, I want to sell my company. They said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, Rice has this MBA program. It had been the Flex program. I knew some people had gone through it, and they were going to convert it to the executive MBA program, the weekend program. I said, I want to get my MBA. And they said, what's next? I said, I don't know. You know, if I can put away enough money, I'll be okay. So I came back and hired a consultant in our industry, an investment banker, and I said, I'm ready to sell the company. And he handled all that and did that. I applied to Rice, and I got into Rice. So I sold to a company that was private equity backed, and they were, who's heard of the Moore Business Forms Company?
Oh, but you
one person. They were the largest business forms company in the world.
Wow.
$2 billion in sales of business forms, and some executives left. They got private equity money, and they were acquiring companies, and they acquired ours. And you know what they said during due diligence? They were not worried at all about paper ever going away. They said no one will ever not have a paper check.
Still have paper.
A paper invoice, a paper purchase order, a paper something. And so I said, you know, I'm ready to kind of move on. And so we exited and came back to Rice.
So and it's funny because you hired somebody to help you through that process,
right.
And now you're a person that helps people through that process,
yeah,
right? That's some of the some of what you gained by coming to Rice and
exactly,
right? So that's interesting. So you applied in '98 because you graduated in 2000, right? Which is when you sold your company, right? So you were in the class.
It was 99.
99. Okay, so tell me about what the business school was like when you came 25 years ago, because it's been a minute. So I'm curious to know, because I don't think that, well, some people in this room, I'm not going to ask, I'm not putting anybody on the spot, what it was like in the year 2000 of walking. I mean, it didn't look like this, right?
Nothing was here. Nothing was here. We're in a little, I think we had a couple classrooms over in Herrig Hall. I think the entire, we were the EMBA class, first weekend class, full-time. I think there might have been 200.
How many kids, or how many people in the EMBA class?
Our class was 41. Heather Kopecki was one of my classmates. She's here today. We'll bring her in. But I think there was.
Was she on your team? I'm sure.
No. We went deeper than that. We started a company together.
Yes, I know. So let's dovetail into that, because you're here. Maybe you can add some color. So you started in 2000. Well, you started in '98 in the EMBA program, and then. And you started another business with a teammate for nursing. There was like a nursing shortage in terms of staffing.
Right.
So how did that happen? Because I know that a lot of us in here are part of Rice and got our MBAs from Rice, and we know about how we have our teams and and a lot of teams actually go on to launch businesses and become entrepreneurs. So how did you two meet?
Yeah, so entrepreneurship's in the Rice DNA, which we'll get into, I think, a little bit. But it's always been, okay, we're going to provide a practical framework, but the reality is you have to get out there and do it. And you have to embrace that culture. And a lot of academic universities and institutions aren't going to do that. They're not going to give you this free will to go out there and do it. But Al Napier and Ed Williams, the founder of the program here, said, we want our entrepreneurs to learn in the classroom, but get out there. And we really haven't changed that from the early 80s. I think late 70s when we started teaching it. So that's in our DNA. It's a really important thing, which we'll touch on. So we were encouraged to think outside the box. And when you come back to school, when you come back to Rice and you come back to MBA program, especially when you come back as an executive, a professional, any age, you're looking for something different, I think, on the other side. Right? I think you really are.
There's a before, you say there's a before the MBA, and then there's after.
There's a before and after. And in between, you're almost like in a cocoon. I mean, you really have time. And I encourage everyone here coming in, use that time. You don't know what you're going to do on the way out. But all kinds of doors will open for you. You'll see new opportunities and encourage you to do that. So we were encouraged to do that. And it really came from the top and from our professors. Yeah. So we were encouraged in a class we had to go out and start a company. And it was an elective class that I teach now, pretty much.
And Al Napier was teaching it at the time?
Al Napier was teaching it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other Al?
The other Al.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Al Napier was teaching, and we had to come up with an idea. So Heather and I think we were at Valhalla. Great ideas happen over alcohol.
For those that, does everybody know what Valhalla is?
Everyone been to Valhalla?
Yeah. Well, you need to tell them. I mean, if you don't, it's this wonderful little bar.
I actually think, where's Patrick Gray? I think the Rice
right
alumni, so it's going to have an after party to Valhalla. He has an open
MBAs
tab.
know how to party.
So there's an open tab, and I think beer at the time was 75 cents a beer. So Heather and I were probably into $1.50 worth of beer, and we had to come up with this idea. And I call them DFIs. Everyone has a
so DFIs. Okay, so back up. So I love this. So we talked a little bit about this. So what does everybody think? Well, DFIs stand for. Any guesses? Oh, come on.
Come on.
You know what the F stands for.
It's a dumb freaking idea. There you go. And they are. They all are at the beginning.
A dumb freaking idea.
I mean, look, who would have ever thought you're going to get in a car with a stranger, or worse, stay at their house, or recruit nurses from the Philippines? But Heather was a PhD nurse, and her classmate was a PhD nurse from the Philippines. And she knew the pain point. Again, we're going to come back to this need.
Solving problems.
Were really, solving problems. Hospitals were really struggling with nursing shortage. And Heather came up with the idea, and we came back. We wrote a business plan to recruit and place nurses from the Philippines. And we went to Memorial Hermann and St. Luke's, and we were able to secure agreements with them to do that. And we started Universal Worker, and we recruited nurses from the Philippines. And that became kind of post Rice, and as we came to our graduation, we had our first checks from Memorial Hermann and St. Luke's, and we were off to the races.
How much were your checks for?
I think all told maybe a total of about $100,000.
Well, that's not too shabby.
So they prepaid and that set us up, and we recruited out of the Philippines. And we had 10 full-time employees, and our entire payroll, they're all college graduates, pretty much nurses. Our entire payroll was about $5,000 a month. So we were outsourcing before outsourcing was cool, and back then. And we recruited and we placed nurses in Memorial Hermann, St. Luke's, Seton in Austin, and some other facilities.
And so how long did you have that business?
We ran it for I think about 7 years, and then it got acquired by an international nurse recruiting and staffing company. And the really cool thing to me, I come out of one of my life. I didn't want to jump back into the rat race after Rice, and I was fortunate enough to put away enough money to not fly private jets or have a place in Aspen, but I could pay for my kids' college education. And I could do things that I wanted to do, right? People call it FU money. Someone I had a little F, but I have a big U, So it was kind of that, and I was able to kind of do these things. And I sat on a nonprofit, and I got approached by somebody. They said, "Hey, you went to Rice. People are going to look at you a little different when you come through Rice, right? You got a Rice MBA. You must have learned something there, and you will. You'll learn a lot." And someone on a nonprofit board said, "Hey, we're approached by a private equity company to be acquired. Would you represent us?" And I said, "Sure, I'd do that." And I did that, and it worked pretty well. And then our company that we were running, we really never had to open up a U.S. office. After 9/11, we didn't open up a U.S. office, and our nurses came in, and they were integrated into the Philippine culture. They saved their expense money, and the Philippine nurses at the hospitals brought them in and let them stay with their families and everything. So we never had to open up an office, and it really was good for me. I had young kids, so I was able to coach their games and be around and travel and do all that stuff. And I didn't want to jump really back into in the rat race, and didn't have to. And then Al Napier asked us to come back to the class.
So let's talk about that. So you were out living your life as an entrepreneur and doing all the things that you love to do, and the folks here, they certainly didn't forget about you, and came back and approached you. So tell me the story about how Al and it was Ed Williams and Al, and how they approached you, and they're like, I have an idea for you. I have an entrepreneurial venture for you over here at Rice Business.
Things just started to grow, right? The entrepreneurship program started to grow, and in 2000 we had plans for the new building.
And it wasn't growing at the speed everywhere else that it was growing here.
Entrepreneurship wasn't.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is in our DNA. Like I said, it goes back to the 80s. But we started the Rice Alliance, and the Rice Alliance was an idea that Steve Corral and some others had, Al Napier and Ed Williams and others, to kind of combine what was going on at Rice around technology, funding, and business, and pull it all together. And they came up with the idea for the Rice Business Plan competition. And that was launched in 2000. The Rice Alliance was launched. And again, that was somebody's DFI. So what you see today with the Rice Alliance and the largest business plan competition in the world and all the impact it had, it started as an idea back then.
So did the iPhone, right?
So the iPhone.
That was a DFI.
Yeah. They all were. So, Rice started and just kind of continued to expand. And then Rice kind of went all in, I think, on entrepreneurship. And you have to have it from the top. So Gil Whitaker, who was the dean at the time, said, hey, if we're going to be entrepreneurial, we have to be entrepreneurial minded. And we have to support these ideas that come through and give them encouragement and grow. And it started to grow, and we started to expand the programs as it went on. And Heather and I came back, and we started to present as a case study here. And then eventually that led to taking over a class, and then we needed something for our alumni. So we came up with another DFI, and that was the JGSEO, the Jones Graduate Entrepreneurs Organization, which we modeled after the EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and YPO, which is a peer-to-peer support group. So we just said, let's have events, education, let's have support for our alums. So our alums started to meet in little advisory boards, small groups of about 8 to 10 alums, that they meet and support each other, help with their entrepreneurial ideas and their businesses. And today, I'm really proud to say, since through a lot of the work through the Lilly Lab, Spencer Randall, I don't know if Spencer's here, he heads up our roundtables, and we have about 250 alumni that are actively engaged in our roundtables. So as you come through as an alum, you'll be connected for life through the RIE and Lilly Lab, and our alumni meet in these roundtables. So we started to do that. We started to have educational events.
And the Lilly Lab is also something that, could you tell everyone, those who may not know, what the Lilly Lab is? Because that's really, really unique to Rice, and other people try to copy it, but it's just a copy.
Yes, so I think the Lilly Lab is the next version of Al Napier and Ed Williams. So when Al Napier and Ed Williams were here, if you had an idea, if you wanted to bounce something off them, if you wanted a connection to go out there and reach and connect, you went to them. And then after I came through, you went to one of the three of us. And then it grew and expanded, and then we came in there. And then eventually, we just needed so much more than that, right? You needed to have a hub that would connect, a place to go to, a place to bounce ideas off of, a place to develop your ideas, a place to connect you to funding and resources and support. So the Lilly Lab eventually became our latest version of that, and it's an incredible program that we have here now. It's available to students, graduate, undergraduate, and alums, and it's
an idea lab.
Yeah, it's Idea Lab. It's a hub. It's a connection. It's so much more. And I think what's really cool is Yael Hochberg and Hassam and Kyle and Patrick that run that have really maintained the spirit of an entrepreneur needs a place to go to vet their ideas, to connect to resources, to be supported, to fail. And be able to fail.
To take risks.
To take risks. You have to
take risks.
Take risks, right?
Right. And that space, if you haven't been in there, which I hope a lot of you have, is there's just so much energy. You walk in and
So
like
much
even
energy.
it's just you feel like you can come up with so many DFIs and like maybe one of them will work, and it's really, really exciting just to be surrounded in that environment and by the people that are there. I mean, it's just this energy that's palpable.
Exactly.
That you just don't get that everywhere.
No.
So
you don't get anywhere. And it's really, MBA, y'all know what an MBA stands for? Nick, one of my former students, you get an A+. You remember?
you get another A+.
He was an A+ student. He's an A+ student. He's here, and he's an A+ in life. It's a master about anything. The really cool thing that you get at Rice is you get accounting from the best, you get finance from the best, you get marketing from the best, you get strategy from the best.
You get entrepreneurship from the best.
Yeah, and entrepreneurship pulls everything together. So you're being taught from a leadership position, and everything is important, right? So you've got all that. So it all comes together there. So it's a place where you can also come together, and you have to learn to understand all of that, right? And have a place to figure it out.
So tell me about when you started teaching here, because I want to know about because I've taken every single one of your classes in the labs, and I mean, I got really lucky, and I know some people have to beg you to get into your classes because it's like calling a radio station and getting tickets to get into Al's class, because it's really, really hard. And I know that as soon as the registration's open, like that's the first thing that you get into. It's like, I need to get into this class first. So what? First of all, I mean, obviously you are legendary, and not only at Rice, but throughout the country and the world. But why do you think that people are so drawn to the idea of trying something and failing, really? Because you have to fail. Like we talked about Thomas Edison. I mean, how many light bulbs failed until it finally didn't? Right. But I mean, for people to sign up to really take these risks, what do you think that it is that you bring that people are so excited about?
First thing I try to do is talk you out of it. It's not easy. I mean, it's tough. It's hard. I mean, you see a lot about the glamour, and you see all this stuff. But 80% of businesses, startups fail. I think at Rice, what we do is we have a fertile ground, right, to plant these seeds in. You have support, you have nurturing, and you have everything. But it's a tough road. To me, a lot of it is you make the decisions. I personally think, for the most cases, if you start a business, the success or failure comes to you. 86% of plane crashes are pilot or human error, right? Which we talk about in class. And I think entrepreneurship is pretty similar. If you look over at a printing company, why are they successful and I'm not? You look at a restaurant, why are they successful and I'm not? You look at a university, why are they successful and we're not? So I think you say, okay, we have to do something here that's better. What's our secret sauce going to be? And I think that that's a part of it, to come in here. And I think what's really great is over the years, Rice has built up this real reputation, and it's real because it goes back so long. It goes back almost to our beginning, for over 40 years ago now. I've been teaching entrepreneurship. Other universities have started to pick it up a lot later, and they started to teach it. And some teach it from a very academic standpoint, where what good is that really going to do?
No, like the E-Labs, where you have to go out and you have to do it.
You have to go out there and you have to do it, right? So, you learn about ROE. Who knows what ROE is? Do you remember what it is, Nick?
Return on Excel.
Javier? A+, Javier. Yeah, all right. It's return on Excel. You can make your pro forma look like whatever you want to make it look like. Honestly.
And many do.
Many do.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll change our discount rate. Oh, we'll change our growth rate to 9.7%. Right?
Yeah.
But the reality is you have to get out there and you have to do it. And you have to make these things real. And I think, we've done that. It's kind of in our DNA. And so now, 6 years in a row now, the #1 graduate entrepreneurship program. It's not because of me. It's because of what was started long ago, and it's because of support. And now our alumni come back in, and they say what they've done, the good and the bad, that we bring back in.
Yeah. So you said secret sauce. So my question is you've met a lot of entrepreneurs. Some have been hugely successful, and some have failed over and over and decided to go. So what's the secret sauce of what makes it work? What have you noticed in the years of teaching here of what is it? Because there's got to be, some sort of thing that people have. Like, what is it?
I have to take the class to find it.
But I want you to say it, because I did take the class.
There's a lot of, obviously it starts with, the customer. You have to come up with something that people want to buy. And I think one area where people go wrong at, I could tell you some of the areas where people fail at probably more than I could tell you secret sauce, but one area is really cool technology, really cool stuff, but who really cares? Who's really going to buy it? What kind of problem are you going to solve for somebody? Another thing where we see a lot of success at is somebody that comes from their own industry, their own problem. Is it a problem that you face?
Well, like what you two did.
Yeah.
It was something that she noticed was an issue and a problem, a pain point.
It was a huge pain point. And Heather had all the stats and all the research and why we had this nursing shortage. So we had a solution for it, right? And so you see that. So I encourage you, who's just starting the program?
Oh, whoa.
Oh, awesome. I just encourage you to think about problems and solutions and ways that you can make things better. One of our alums, Hassam Hallam, we literally came in and we had a meeting like this back years ago and said, "What's the biggest problem you face?" Well, he worked at a oilfield service company, and he said, "One of our problems are in these pipe covers, and it's just a better way." I said, "Why don't you just devote your time while you're here to figure out a good solution for it?" And he was an engineer, right? So he developed kind of a next generation of pipe covers. And by the time he graduated, he had a company, he raised capital, he went out there, he left his job, and now he runs his company. So he used the time at his MBA to figure out, this problem. Sometimes it can be doing something better, faster, cheaper. Right? I mean, obviously we have millions of restaurants in the U.S., and there's going to be another restaurant open tomorrow. But what's going to be different? What's going to be unique about that? What can you bring to it that will carve you out and will make you the place that people want to come to when they do it? Sometimes it can be as simple as we call it hanging a shingle. Hey, I'm a really good engineer. I'm going to go out and start an engineering company. I'm a really good CPA. I'm going to go out. A really good friend of mine was the partner of a Big Four company. Back in the day, it was a Big Eight. He had incredible relationships. He just took a team of people, and he left, and he used his relationships to get in the door, and he built an incredibly successful company. So you have to take a look and say, how will I be a little bit different? How can I carve my market share out? And what problem, why will customers,
right.
You talk about the job to do. When you hire a company, you're hiring them to do a job. What is that job and how can we do it better, faster, cheaper, a new way to do it?
More efficiently.
More efficiently.
And even if it's better, because an example is the VHS and Beta. Beta was better than VHS, but it didn't survive.
Right.
Right? And it has a lot to do with timing and there's so many different variables at play.
Exactly.
That don't, it has to fit at the right time, at the right place, and
Exactly. And understanding that you surround yourself with, to know the technology is, a lot of printing companies and business forms company went down the drain. I say I might have been lucky, but I saw that I thought the industry was going to change, and Beta has to see that VHS is coming out and what's next, and you have to understand a lot of that. And you have to surround yourself with people that understand technology or understand the restaurant business or understand whatever you're getting into, right? You have to understand that.
And you also have to be determined and focused and have a whole lot of faith. So I want to talk to you about something that you went through that because of who you are and your determination and your faith and really, the person that you are is why you overcame something that a whole lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So I was actually in your class in 2022. There are some of my classmates in here from my MBA cohort. You can raise your hands too if you want to. Yeah. So in this right after, in May of 2022, it was like we were the COVID cohort. So it was around that time that you noticed something and I don't know if it was in class or not, but you noticed something was off, and you paid attention to it. But it was something that you probably would have never imagined. So tell us about that story, about what happened, when was that day, and what that felt like.
Yeah, it's really tough, and I think hopefully I'll impart some lessons and experience. And on the personal side, I've never had any health problems. I've always been very healthy, always taking care of myself, but maybe been a little bit stubborn. And I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm not going to go see this. I'm not going to go in. And I was noticing I had some trouble with my vision. I couldn't. I was just starting to lose kind of the side vision. I thought it was kind of just something in my mind, and things started to get a little bit blurry. I thought that was from grading too many papers. So it's
you needed more TAs.
I had 40 students at one time. Now so but you put heart and soul into it, and you want to do it. So I noticed things getting a little fuzzy, and I went in and I went to my eye doctor. And he said, "Looks like you have a cataract." So he said, "We'll do cataract surgery." So I went. I had cataracts done, but came out and didn't cure it. So they said, "We want to send you in for some testing." And I said, "Oh, come on, I'm not going in for testing." And it was during the Vet Biz Battle. Calvin's the latest leader of our Veterans Business Battles event, where we bring veterans here to Rice.
That you also supported. We need to get back to
that
that
was another
as well.
DFI.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I left. I said, "Guys, I got to leave here. I got to go get this stupid MRI done." I said, "My wife wants me to get it." I said, "I'm going to go get it, make her happy." So
good choice.
Yeah, good choice. So I went in, and they found a large tumor that was on my optic nerve, and that was causing my vision. And they said, "Well, there's one doctor in town, Dr. Baskin over at Methodist, and he's the specialist, but he's really hard to get into." And this is another big lesson of mine. I said, "Well, one guy that I helped get into business for himself, and he's now the head of the liver center at Methodist, Dr. Glady, that's my contact over there." And he goes, "Well, you better see if he can help." So I called, and Joe said, "Dr. Baskin, I know him. Give me a minute." And he calls over there, and he goes, "Yeah, we'll see you Friday." I said, "Okay." So
convenient.
It's convenient, but your network's important,
yes.
Right? Who you connect to. So I was able to get in, and they performed a very delicate surgery. It was 2 8-hour surgeries. They thought it was going to only take about 5 hours, but there was some complexity around it, and they wanted to make sure they saved my optic nerve and, of course, my vision. So it turned out to be 2 8-hour surgeries that were about 8 or 9 days apart. And I had it done, and then I had a long recovery time in the hospital after that. I went to TIR, and I recovered. And I came out. It was all total of about a month, start to finish. And then I was out, and
this is May through June.
Yeah, this is May of 2022
yep.
through June 2022, middle of June. And I came out, and then in the first week of July, I started having really bad chest pains. And my daughter's a physical therapist, and we live over in West U, so she came over. My blood pressure had dropped to 75 or 80 over 40.
Yeah.
And she said, but my heart rate was 160. So my heart was pumping really hard. She said, "Dad, you've got a blockage." I said, "Oh, come on. Just call Dr. Joe." I said, She goes, "No, we're calling an ambulance." And she called an ambulance, and they got me back into Methodist Hospital. And they got me into a room, and they put me up. And I looked up, there were 3 doctors in the corner talking. I said, "Well, this isn't good."
Yeah, right.
And so they said, I came over, and they said, "Look, you have a saddle embolism." And I had all these blood clots that had formed. I had COVID in the spring. They pushed my surgery back. I had the surgery. I was laid up. And then your body starts to form blood clots quicker when you're under the stress. So they were all forming, and they eventually stopped at the kind of bypass going into my lungs, my left lung and right lung. And ultimately they clogged up, and I wasn't getting blood flow. So they said, "We're either going to crack your chest open, or we're going to put you on ECMO, life support, and see if this will settle." And so they gave me some drugs. And
I hope they did.
Yeah.
It was a pulmonary embolism.
It was a pulmonary embolism, and they put me on life support, and I was on life support for 13 days.
And a lot of people don't survive 13 days of life support.
It's pretty tough, and this is my lesson, and I promised it to the doctors when I came out, because I asked what I could do for them. And when I came out, the whole room was full of people and doctors at Methodist and people, and they said, so this is El Milagro. That was a miracle in Spanish. And they said, it's a hockey player. It's a hockey player. It's a hockey player.
That's a good way to be. I mean, that's a good one. You know.
And they said that because of the condition, my entire body was tested. I had liver failure, kidney failure. I went through dialysis.
How to relearn how to walk. Or it was you basically had to do everything. Relearn how to do most everything that we take for granted.
Most everything. Yeah, I had to come back in, and the doctors did everything they could do, and then it turned kind of to me, and they said now it was up to me, and I went back and I went to Tier after I stayed Methodist rehab inpatient. And I started to rehab. And one thing I said, you have to have goals, set a goal for the first of the year. And I said, October 22nd, I want to be back in the class.
Of 2022.
2022.
10/22 of 22. Like this, what month was this? What month was this?
This was like maybe early September.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, mid-September maybe when we were doing
so you got a month and a week to get me
6
back
weeks.
to this.
Yeah. So anyways, I said, well, Ed Williams, when he taught, he would teach from a chair like this in later years. And I said, if I have to be back there, I'll be back in there. And so I got worked through and got back in and was back in the classroom in October. And then
October 22nd.
October 22nd.
2022.
Yeah, 2022. And then I played hockey and went skiing.
In February.
So, so it was really cool. Thank you.
But that's about that says a lot about your mindset.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one of the things is that, to be able to get through something like that, because we can think about what that feels like, but you really don't know what that feels like until you go through it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So again, what is that mindset that you have to have in order to be able to get through that kind of a challenge that most people hopefully never have to endure or encounter?
I'd like to say it's something special, but I really don't think it is. I think if you get pushed in that and you have a will for life, you're going to do what it takes, right? I mean, you did so much. I said, I did what I had to do every day. Day by day, step by step, and I think entrepreneurship
is very similar. It's the same thing.
Ups and downs. Maybe I'll bring that in the class. Right?
Yeah.
But, ups and downs and all of that. But it is kind of you do what you're faced against. Incredible things that we do, and we take it a day at a time. Now, when we look back at it, we can look back at it and we can learn. But I think at that point you learn about faith. You have to have faith that things are going to get better. You have to understand that family and friends and what you have is what's most important. All the zeros that you have in your bank account. Now, the good thing about that, I think you can make a difference in the world, and you can, that's what entrepreneurs can do. But at the end of the day, it comes down to that faith and family and everything, and the ability to get back out and create something.
Which is like going to battle, similarly. Right, so I was going to bring it back to the veteran business battle, right? Like that's what I was trying to. So and that was something that that you decided to help launch with veterans, because a lot of MBAs are former veterans that have gone through tremendous uncertainty and really fought for our country and seen things that nobody should ever see, and really went through like very similar things that you went through in terms of just one thing, one day at a time.
Right, yeah.
So, and this was even before you went through all of this. So what drew you to really believe that veterans are really uniquely, have unique opportunities to really be entrepreneurs and should be supported in a way that veterans aren't in any other business school, really?
Yeah. My first class I came into, Al Napier, who I took over from, he said, go into class prepared. He knew every student's name where they went to undergraduate school when the first day of school. So my first class had 40 students in it.
And you almost dropped out. You didn't even want to go into the MBA program because he knew your name.
Yeah,
or like the professor knew your name, and that because you were going to drop out of the MBA program once you got accepted.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. And then, look, I want to bring that out. Yeah, I almost dropped out of the program. I had a lot going on in the sale of the company, which we were kind of getting ready to prepare, going through, and I got in the program. And then maybe like a lot of you that are starting out, coming in here, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, like, can I do this? Can I get through it? And I decided to drop out of the program. I called in to Kay Henry, and she didn't answer the phone. And I said, hey, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out of the program. I've got too much going on. I'm going to drop out of the program. And my wife said, go talk to Dr. Joe. So I talked to Joe Claudia, and he said, man, Joe, I got this stack of books. I didn't know how to use Word. I didn't know how to use PowerPoint. I didn't even know how to use Excel. I didn't know how to turn on a computer. My generation, I barely sent emails, quite honestly.
But you knew about paper. But you knew about paper.
I knew about paper. Trust me, yeah, paper would have been okay. But so I said, I'm just not going to go through it. I'm going to drop out. And then Joe said, look, you're in. It's tough. You've got take the first weekend. See how it goes. Take it a day at a time. Get prepared. Go in there. And Al Napier was our instructor, first class, and he said, hey, you got into Rice. That's the hard part. You're going to get through. We're going to make sure that you get through. You're a part of a family. We're going to get you through. You have nothing to prove. You're going to get through. We're going to make sure that you get through. And everyone coming in, you will. It's enjoy the ride. You got in here. You don't got to prove anything. You don't got to just.
You have to pass.
To pass, you're going to pass. If you don't pass, that's another problem. But you will. Everyone there. I thought look to your left, look to your right. One of you's not going to be there. It was like look to your left, look to your right. Make sure you all get through together. And that was the philosophy of it all. Right?
And it still is.
It still is. It hasn't changed. There's some fundamental things that haven't changed. I think that's what makes Rice special, and you'll figure it out as you come through. And everyone feels the same thing. Everyone's feeling
terrified.
This uncertainty and everything, and you're going to get through and enjoy the ride. And then you'll be sitting here as alumni, and you'll be alumni for life. You'll be a part of the family for life. So that's kind of a tangent on that. So my very first class that I came into to teach, Al Napier wanted me to take over his classes, and I said, I never had an aspiration to be a business school professor. But I think a part of me liked to coach and go back to my DNA, to help, to coach, to get others along the way. And so he saw something in me that I don't think I even saw myself.
Those are the best mentors.
Yeah, they're the best. And seek out mentors, seek out those that have been down the road, right? And so he said, I want you to take over my class. And I said, okay. So I shadowed him. He was the best. Him and Ed Williams were the best. They won all these entrepreneurship awards, and Ed Williams said, don't even nominate me for the faculty award anymore, because they put their heart and soul into things. And so he came in there, so I learned everyone's, and I noticed all the military veterans from West Point, Naval Academy, Citadel that we had in the class, and I said, wow, this guy's got to be kind of leaders. And I just kind of got to know them in the class, and we started talking about the other thing. Your professors here, they're all approachable, and they're here to help. Get to know them pretty well, and so I'd talk, and we talk about the military. And I'm from a military family, all military family, and my dad was in the military. My uncle was killed in the Vietnam War, and they said, we want you to. They were first responders, and they said, two things we want. We want you to not go in the military and not be a first responder. So you're going to college. So they saved that, went to college. But I kind of identified with the veterans. Chris Franks is here, and it was just like, okay, you understand sacrifice and a mission and working hard and uncertainty. Entrepreneurship is full of uncertainty. You just don't know what the next day is going to be. But you kind of know your mission, right? You know what you want to accomplish, but it's kind of, you got to change. No plan's going to get you through to the end, right? No plan. Mm-hmm. So you've got to do that, and we had these conversations, and I really connected with them, and we went out to dinner one night at the Palm, and EO is an entrepreneurial organization, and they were looking to do something in the city. So like great entrepreneurs, we kind of stole the idea for the Rice Business Plan competition. We said, why don't we do the Veterans Business Battle, and we started that. And
what year was that?
Huh?
What year?
That year was 2012, I think. The first
Yeah.
Vet Biz was 2013. Chris, you were, right? 14? 13. Yeah. 2000. Chris was 10th year. Yeah. So we started it. And we went out there and said, hey, let's provide an opportunity for military veterans to come in and apply with their business ideas. We'll help them along. We'll get the finalists to come here and pitch, and we'll have an event around education, support, resources. Mike Tatz, Corbin Bates, Jordan Speaker, and others said, okay, let's do that. So we started that, and now here we are.
13 years later.
13 years later, Calvin's running it this year, and we've raised well over $10 million for veterans and connected them to resources and support. Now in the online program, we have a Veterans Accelerator class that Dan Maxwell and Sterling Dodd run, and that will reach out into the veteran community to help military veterans a little bit more than just entrepreneurship. But tomorrow we have a meeting at 7:30 with a company in town that wants to hire veterans, and so we're doing that. And I think one thing along that, I think it's important to have something that you believe in. I think if you can't believe in, anytime you see a military veteran, they put their life, to go give us freedom. And a couple of years ago, one of the veterans told me the best way that you can show our support is not to thank us, but to go out there and take advantage of the freedoms that we have. I think entrepreneurship is one of them as well. So it's really been great. And every year, these guys have not wanted to let the next person down, and they've stepped up and stepped into it. And I think that's just not letting the next person down. And I think everyone that goes through Rice is going to experience that. It's tough, but you're in the rowboat mentality. We're in this together, and we have to get through it. And y'all will, and that's part of it.
So my last question before all of you get to ask Al all sorts of questions. So what is your vision for Rice going forward? What do you want this place? Because it's really an extraordinary school, and it's the people that make the school.
It's people.
It's the people that make the school. So what are your hopes and your dreams for when you decide, which hopefully is not anytime soon, to pass the torch to somebody else? What do you wish that Rice will become going forward as it grows from, because it's not a startup anymore.
No,
it's sort of in the mid
growth.
Yeah, but as it matures, what do you wish for Rice?
I certainly hope it will continue the spirit of that we have, this entrepreneurial spirit of you can. And if you look at the key to the success of where we're at, it's from our leadership. It's from Dean Rodriguez today has just carried on so much, and to see this building and what he's going through to build the building and create so much. And then before him, Gil Whitaker, right, who we came through, and then Dean Click. And if you think about everything you see today, these could have been squashed as little ideas. So the Veteran Business Battle, the Rice Business Plan Competition, our e-labs that we have, these
vision,
ideas, it's the vision, and it's so easy to say, no, we're not going to do that. And not everything's worked 100%, but look do you know now? Has it brought the school down? Have we been, shut down? No. These ideas, and I think as we continue that and to grow and develop, and get more support as our alumni become more successful, they give back to the school, and they teach and they continue. And the work that's getting done over at the Lilly Lab, those guys work so hard. And I like to say that, the people around Rice, from the dean and the leadership, they would be incredible entrepreneurs. And you're seeing the results here in a new building going on, in our class going, I think we're going to classes like 700.
They are the entrepreneurs, right?
They built this,
yes,
and their
idea.
consideration is not, billions of dollars in going public, but it's seeing these results, and that's what we've continued to do and to build. And I hope we continue that. And this year we're super excited. We have our first alumni cases. So those of you that are taking my class in the fall,
they're not Harvard cases; they're Rice cases. Is everybody
we're going to use the Harvard cases for those that failed, maybe, right? And the Rice cases for those that made it.
So exciting!
But our Rice alums are going to. So you're going to read about Rice alums and what they did and their cases, and then be able to come in and hear them in the classroom, right? So it's been a big vision of mine. These e-labs to continue to get it. And again, I keep coming back to the Lilly Lab, but they're just as heart and soul to bring mentors. So if you need a mentor around, tech, you have a mentor around tech, which is completely different than oil and gas, or it's completely different than a distribution company. So we've got that, and we continue to grow, and we continue to be able to have those seeds and give them the support that they need, and we don't ever lose this kind of entrepreneurial and the sense of family that we have. We have, and it continues. The partios, again, someone's idea that they had.
It's a great idea. It wasn't a DFI. It was a GFI, right?
Yeah. The international trips. Michael Koenig. I saw him. What he's doing with our outreach now to globally. We have a global outreach of education around entrepreneurship and everything. Barb Ostick and what she's done with the online program. Why have to have the separation and make you come to a physical classroom when you can deliver a lot of this online? And imagine the pushback that you got to push that idea uphill to take an MBA program online in 2016, 2017. All of a sudden it became the thing to do in 2020. But it wasn't in 2017. It just wasn't, right? Executive education to push what we do out there to corporations and everything. Easy to say no to, right?
Yeah. But that's one of the things that you always say yes to the DFIs and the GFIs and to all the kids that really, really want to be in your classes. And, it's really been, you can tell by the amount of people in the room that how much you're beloved and really one of the best professors. I'm not going to be, pick favorites, but you really are one of the most favorite and best professors, and that's for a reason, is because you are very much approachable, and anybody can talk to you and come up to you, and you are always willing to connect people to whoever is or in your network, or even a person that might know another person, and a lot of people don't do that. So I think we're very, very grateful to you for being a part of this community.
Yeah, we need the next generation. Al Galindo's here, his latest faculty member who's gone through and acquired a company and went on. He's coming back, and I can't be there for everybody all the time, right? And so as we do that, and the I'll have you known, Scott, that was a DFI.
No, it was a GF.
DFIs turned to GFIs real quick. Then they turned to really great ideas. But to have the podcast, which you're doing and what you've done, and it's so cool to see that.
And that wasn't for me. That was not my. I mean, I'm like the third generation of it. So that was something that started way before. It was when I had started at Rice, and really it has grown so much. But it was also on the shoulders of others, which you have stood on them, and someone will stand on yours. Yeah. So. Well, Al, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure, and I thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for listening. This has been I'll Have You Know, a production of Rice Business. You can find more information about our guests, hosts, and announcements on our website, business.rice.edu. Please subscribe and leave a rating wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We'd love to hear what you think. The hosts of I'll Have You Know are myself, Maya Pomeroy, and Brian Jackson.